Under the Radar, bringing movies and people together, one frame at a time. Hey guys, I'm Randy Unger, and this is a special edition of Under the Radar, bringing movies and people together, one frame at a time. And this is the beginning, or almost the middle, of Tribeca Festival right now. But things are off to a great start, because right now I am with two very talented people. We have writer, director, and executive producer Alina Street. Alina, hello.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Of course, thank you. And also executive producer Amy Fruchtman. Hello.
Hello, very nice to be here.
Thank you, welcome. And the film in question is the new short film, My Best Friend. It is a beautiful story. It is a romance and just a tale of friendship that is really just, it's very deep, it's probing, it's beautiful, it's everything. It's all the emotions you can think of in this short film. I just want to know, how did the idea for the film originally come about, Alina?
Well, I have been directing a lot of documentary recently in the past few years, and I really missed working with a script. And
Sorry, no, I want to go back.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah,
that's
okay.
fine. Let's go.
Okay, sorry about that.
No, fine.
My editor, she's going to see this now and strangle me later. So.
No, it's fine.
All right.
I mean, I will probably do the same. So.
Okay, thank you.
We'll fix it in post. It's fine.
Yes, of course. So I know that the film just premiered last night at the Tribeca Festival. Tell everyone, how did the premiere go?
It went really well, very well received. A lot of people came up to us and said that they laughed and they cried. And I think that's a big reward. That's what you want, is to make people feel. That's why we bring stories to the screen, so people can connect with them and relate with them. And it was a success. It was totally sold out. Nice. All of the screenings have been sold out. They even added an additional screening. And yeah, we were thrilled.
Yeah,
great.
It was absolutely so much fun. The block of films that we were a part of, every single film was excellent. Yeah. And it's just an honor to be there. Really, it was just so well received. It was really such a great time.
Were you guys overwhelmed amongst all your peers, your filmmaking peers, and your fans and everything, all the craziness? It must have been a little bit of a nutty night.
Well, it was nice to be reunited with the crew, because we realized that it had been a year since we wrapped My Best Friend, and that was the premiere.
Oh, wow.
So that was very emotional and beautiful. And the crew was just very excited to be together. It was really muggy and really warm. Right. So we were all sweating, and we were all like in between, the red carpet and the AC, and wanting to talk and excited to meet everyone as well. It was really special.
That's so great.
Yeah.
And Amy, how about you? Was the energy like palpable for you too?
Absolutely. Yeah. It was raining a little bit when we got there, and standing under the awning at the theater really honestly reminded me of standing on the stairwell. We're all huddled together in the silence on set. It was very, very similar. Like, the parallels were very similar.
That's crazy.
And being with the crew again, it was really great. It's just a lot of fun.
It sounds like summer camp. Like, you'd return back to camp. You see all your friends and buddies.
We're all dolled up.
Yeah. That's so cool.
Yeah. A lot of fun.
I can imagine. So the movie's so good, and it's 18 minutes. I wanted so much more. These two characters, they're brilliant. The actresses knock it out of the park, and I totally believe that this friendship, this relationship, is actually unraveling on the screen. How did the project originally come about? I'm very curious about this.
Well, thank you for saying that. They are incredible actresses. Big shout out to Marisa Bukovic, my lead, and Lana Boy, who also, they're both at this point leads, because there's two characters in the film, and they're both as important. Actually, can I say that again? Because I feel bad if she hears this.
Okay.
I want to be like my two amazing actresses.
Sure. Rachel, another edit.
Yes. Sorry, Rachel.
Do you take it from the question again? Is that how you?
Yeah. So I'll say I'll
okay.
start. Yeah. Well, thank you for saying that. Sure. I really appreciate you recognizing this amazing chemistry, and they're such strong actors together. So a big shout out to Marisa Bukovic, who is very up and coming in France. She's currently filming a series. And then also a big shout out to Lana Boy, who is based in New York and an incredible actor as well. So the story came about because I have been working in the documentary world now for a while, and I had really missed working with actors and workshopping a script. And this is a very personal story to me. I have always been very interested in exploring intimacy on the screen, especially female intimacy. I feel like a lot of the times female intimacy is captured through the lens of the male gaze. A lot of the times it's directed by men, and it's very performative.
Okay.
And I was interested in finding the authenticity of the performance and the intimacy,
The reality of it all.
the reality.
Right.
And so for me, I really wanted to explore that lens. And I always think that there's something to that's very interesting between intimacy and friendship and intimacy in love and a relationship, and when those lines become blurry. So I chose to tell a story that felt very close to me. It's something that happened to me personally.
Okay.
And I think it was time to tell the world about it because I know a lot of people could relate with it too.
Okay. Wow. Okay. So based on, or loosely based on real life events.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Very
Yeah.
cool. Okay. Amy, how about you? How did you get on board to the project?
Well, I'm part of GPS Films, Gately Production Services, and me and the other co-owner, Maxwell Gately, the other executive producer of Gately Production Services, basically said to Alina, if you come to us with a script, we will produce it. We will produce it. Come to us with a script and we will produce it.
Just name recognition alone, like.
Not even the name, just we knew that she has incredible stories to tell,
Okay.
and they're authentic stories.
Sure.
And so she brought us a script, and we looked it over, and we said, this is gorgeous. We love it. This is a brilliant, authentic story about a relationship, like you said, not from the male gaze, from a woman's perspective.
Sure.
And we loved it. And so we signed on board right away. We knew it was going to be something very special.
We've worked in the past as well together.
Okay.
I moved to New York City about 10 years ago, and I was on a job with Maxwell Gately from GPS Films, and I also had met Amy before, so we had a built-in trust, and I think this movie is really a reflection of this trust and this sacred space that we created for ourselves. So when we started connecting on another level that wasn't just, hey, we're on set working for another client or another production company. Here we're doing something that feels more personal and that really brings us together. And so I think that was
many days on set spent together, really culminated
in the past. On mindless jobs that didn't feel
crazy indie jobs. Like crazy 12, 13, 14-hour days, you know.
Wow.
So you get to really know each other in these moments, and so that's why it felt special.
It is actually a reflection of the movie because you guys are professional colleagues, but now I'm assuming you're friends now. So your relationship
Definitely.
kind of graduated to the next level.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. Okay.
Yeah, and you raise a good point. It's important as well to have those connections because film is an art that is only built through collaborations and connections.
Of course. And speaking of connections and collaboration, the Lesbian Bar Project, I read this on your bio. Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Sure. So I mentioned earlier that I had been doing mostly documentary work these past few years, and I have co-created a project called the Lesbian Bar Project with co-director Erica Rose, who's also an incredible New York-based director. And it started in 2020 when we came across an article that said there were 16 remaining lesbian bars in the country, and that COVID
In the country? Wow.
Yes, and that COVID could bring that number down to 0.
Okay.
The statistic was really shocking because I'm very much ingrained in the LGBTQ plus community, and when I found out that the numbers were so low, I was devastated because if we don't have our spaces, then we are being erased.
Right.
So I started a documentary series with Erica Rose, and the both of us basically, it started off with a PSA, then a short film, and then it became a series on the Roku channel. One of our episodes won an Emmy and won a GLAAD award. So it was very, very successful and recognized. We raised funds for the bars. It was also a philanthropic effort.
Okay.
And and now we just released our first international episode, and actually GPS Films was an associate producer on our first international episode of the Lesbian Bar Project. So once again, we're connected all together, and we
That's
keep
great.
growing together.
I love that.
And it's absolutely brilliant too, Flinta. It's absolutely brilliant. It's beautiful. Turned out so beautiful.
That's
Yeah.
all. So is it just bars, or are you guys doing work to institute like clubs or organizations that are catered to that community?
So it is, in America, we really focused on the bars. But you're right, it's also like a part of the culture. So we talk to bar owners, patrons, and activists around the bars, because a lesbian bar in Arizona doesn't serve the same importance as a lesbian bar in New York City, where there's just a lot more access
Right.
and a lot more assimilation.
Sure.
So we really try to explore our geographical privilege
Okay.
in that sense too. But in our docuseries, each episode is about a different bar in a different state.
Okay.
Whereas our new international episode is a little bit more broad in terms of, you're right, there's more of like a party collective angle, there's a politician angle, and we made a longer special there where we were able to explore the community at large.
Where was that international episode?
In Germany.
Germany?
Yes,
Okay.
we shot in Berlin and Cologne last year, and it was a blast.
That's cool.
Yeah.
What
Thank you.
what has your experience been like, Amy, with the project?
Well, I think it's absolutely beautiful. The premiere, what was it? Was it the North American premiere?
It was the
we just
US
went to?
premiere,
The
yeah.
U.S. premiere of Flinta.
Okay.
It was absolutely beautiful. I'm so beyond impressed with how it came together. The community that is highlighted in the episode is just it's unmatched.
Nice.
It's something worth saving and worth talking about. So here's to more. It's specials, more episodes in more countries that you guys can travel to.
Yeah, I mean, the sky's the limit, really.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean, interestingly, we would like to keep exploring, but it's also a question of safety, right? So we were the first ones to create a list in America of the bars because they were very hard to identify.
Right.
Some of the bars, cannot necessarily safely identify themselves as in certain states.
Sure.
And if you start increasing that list worldwide, you can run into some safety issues.
Okay.
So it's been a really it's that fine line between talking about the spaces because we have to have visibility, but also how do you respect a safe space and prioritize a safe space.
Gotcha. So, yeah, a lot of things you keep in mind when
Yes.
you're filming these episodes.
Yeah.
Last question, we'll get back to the film.
Yeah.
But what was the most fun episode that you did?
Oh boy. They were all so fun. When we went to Arizona, to Phoenix, to document the lesbian bar scene there, it was just a different world. We entered a space that caters to mostly the Latinx community. So there are a lot of refugees there that are just seeking safety, and the bar owner is this very warm. She calls herself Coach A. She used to be a basketball coach, so she's almost like this coach to everyone, and everyone just looks up to her.
Okay.
And it was just amazing. The landscape was so cool. And then I think it's hard to bring one thing up because they're all different worlds. Then we went to Texas and went to Houston, and that's a whole different world too.
Yeah.
So every space you enter has a heartbeat and a personality, and that is really what was the big takeaway. Is it's an aesthetic. You go in and there's an experience that you'll never have anywhere else.
And you'll learn about cultures
Yes.
from each city that you visit.
Exactly.
It's very cool.
Right. It's the spaces reflect the culture. We usually call the bar owners like cultural architects.
Okay. I like
So yeah.
that. Did you coin that? Because it's a good phrase.
We came up with it with my co-director Erica because we keep seeing these amazing bar owners as like these pioneers for these spaces and culture.
Cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
Okay, back to the film.
Yes.
My Best Friend.
Yes.
So good. Tell me about the casting process. Were these two leads always in mind, or were there like auditions? How did that go?
So I have worked with Marisa Bukovic, the lead, on my previous shorts. And the character she played was a bit more one-dimensional. And I always wanted to challenge her and find a more nuanced role for her.
Okay.
And it's funny, we had a conversation on the phone when I started telling her about my best friend, and she said, "Oh, okay, so I'm just going to play you." And I said, "That's not quite it." And she said, "Okay, well, don't worry, I'm starting my research now." It was fun. But she is a wonderful actress, and I find that in France, she often gets typecast. She loves to take risks, and she usually plays very... when I say one-dimensional, it's either very dark characters or very disturbed characters. And she was just excited to explore a role that has a lot of nuance, where we really talked extensively about her past, like the past of her character.
Okay.
And I loved that collaboration with her. And then, so there was not a casting actually for her. I knew I wanted her to be that role. I usually do love casting, but I had worked with her in the past, so for me the casting was already done in my head.
Okay.
And I wanted to push her in a different direction than I had in the past.
Okay.
And then for Lana Boy, so Lana and Marie actually knew of each other from the past because they both worked in Paris together. They both went to the same acting school. So even though they had never fully worked together, they knew of each other and they had followed each other's careers, and they both respected each other's work.
Okay, good.
So throughout the years, they kept saying, "Oh, I know Marie's doing great things," and Marie would say, "Oh, I know Lana's doing great things." So they had almost a fascination.
It was meant to be.
It was meant to
really.
be. Really, when they finally met, they were like, "We're so happy to finally do this."
So good.
Which was great. But Lana Boy is based in New York. She's an actor, and she is also very ingrained in the film industry as a production designer.
Gotcha.
So she's very creative, and she happens to be one of my very, very good best friends.
Nice.
And
Great.
so it was a challenge to work with someone that I was so close with, but I had done it in the past with her, and I thought it would be interesting to have her be a part of this.
And I'm so glad it is.
Yes.
Amy, how about you? Did you have an opinion in the casting of these two lovely ladies?
Well, I think they're brilliantly cast. I'll say that last night we had a very interesting question at the Q&A panel after the screening. Shout out to the Tribeca for hosting such a lovely
Tribeca
Q&A
Festival.
It was great. They asked a question about the chemistry on set, specifically for My Best Friend and maybe one or two other films about the chemistry between the two of them, and there was never any issue. The chemistry was never an issue between them. They got along so well. And Alina, you had mentioned that you had sent them off, to get their nails done and go have some time together separately, unrelated to the film, just to hang out with each other. And it's a great way to do it, and it was almost unnecessary because they got along so well.
Yeah, and on camera they're perfect together. There's not it's just perfect chemistry. There's not a silent moment. There's never a pause. It all matters with these two on camera, and you captured them both beautifully. I think it's a testament to the acting and the direction and the script. Kind of like the whole film, all these elements come together beautifully. So kudos to you and to you, Amy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Amy helped a lot with actually the film, the script. I had written the script, and then we started workshopping it with the girls, and they basically, it was scripted, and it feels like it's not because it's so natural, but it was a collaborative effort. Yep. Every sentence was there for a reason. Even though it felt improvised, we discussed it at all times, and Amy was always there as well, a part of the creative. We were like, what does this sentence mean? What does this breath mean? What does, this laugh mean?
Right.
And we did a lot of rehearsals for that.
Gotcha. Yeah, and because this is a short film, every moment matters. Like every
Yes.
little sound and everything on camera looks great, and it all has to come together, and it really does. I
you.
wanted so much more of this movie. It was 18 minutes, but I wanted a lot more. I think this could have easily been a 90-minute film.
You were not the first person to say that.
No,
Many
yeah.
people, that's the number one thing. People come up to us and
Yeah.
that they say, Alina, when is it going to be a feature?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
Thank you. That was going to be one of my upcoming questions. When is it going to be a feature?
Well, I think that the film is a moment in time, and I do think there are features about moments in time, and I love those films too. But I think I'm ready to move on to another facet of the main character and maybe go back to her past
Okay.
and expand on her story.
Okay.
Because I think my best friend works, and I think it's a good thing to want more, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Because
True.
that's means that the film is memorable,
Right.
and I like that idea.
Were there? I'm sure there were challenges, but during filming in New York City,
Mm-hmm.
what were some of the challenges or roadblocks that you guys faced?
Oh, well, we we loved filming on the New York Ferry. It was we wanted to really capture New York as a playground
Yeah.
where the girls could be themselves and just play with the city. And also there's this cycle where, you know, they start off in the ferry and they come back to the ferry and they're like different at this point. So I really wanted that because for me, as an expat living in New York, there's so many as I think we can all relate to this. There's so many places in New York that evoke so many memories,
Sure.
and good and bad, and it's just, you know,
Especially for me, because I am from Queens.
right. So
I know.
you've been, yeah,
I'm aware.
yeah. I have less years on my New York
Right.
life, but I still have streets where I'm like, oh, I have to avoid this. This
Yeah.
reminds me of
That's funny.
But now I'm forgetting your question.
No, just were there any challenges filming in the city?
Yes, sorry.
okay.
Well, it's always challenging when you're filming on the New York Ferry, but we were very limited size. It was just me, the actresses. We had our DP, and she couldn't see a thing, poor thing, because it was so bright that day. And she didn't. I don't know how. It was a miracle. She literally was able to pull focus.
Nice.
But she said, "I hope this footage will come out well because I couldn't see a thing."
Because that looks like a very sunny day. Yeah, that's ridiculous.
It was super bright.
But it looks awesome.
And not only this, it was extremely windy. Somehow their hair looks pretty like tame right now. I cannot tell you, behind the camera, we were about to fly away. There's I'll show you later. There's a selfie. The girls took a selfie, and you see me and Alexa Carroll, our amazing DP, in the back, with our hair just like flying. We look like a mess, and somehow we're getting the shot.
That's it.
So that was challenging, but so
Okay.
exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You really photographed, you filmed New York beautifully.
It's an ode to New York.
It's-
I really,
yeah, it
that's
is.
what I wanted it to
It's
be.
got like the best, you know, like almost like a Woody Allen, a romantic version of a Scorsese film, if that, yeah. And
Yeah, sure, I'll take it.
sure,
Yeah,
yeah, the less violent moments anyway.
yeah, of course.
And it.
New York is a character.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Right out of my mouth. But yeah, it is, and that's what I wanted to see more of. Like the last couple scenes, I won't give it away, but I wanted to see more of these two walking down the street, just hanging out, conversing, and getting into crazy adventures. I love it.
I think you need to see the director's cut because
Okay.
I also wanted to see more of that, and I
Sure.
have those shots. But
Nice.
again, it's about the story, right? It's
Yeah.
how am I going to make sure that I'm telling that story
Right.
in a limited amount of time?
Sure. And
Yeah.
it's a very simple story. It's obviously very character driven, so
Yeah.
that's not a lot of challenge there. So you did a very good job with that. Okay, a few questions left. What do
Yeah.
you guys hope audiences take away from the film? Amy.
Authenticity. I really hope they see this as an authentic story. I really hope an audience looks at this and they can relate to it and they see a story and they I think it happens more often than you think.
Right.
And with this type of story, I apologize, I might have to start this answer over.
Okay, sure.
Uh,
No, you were going good, actually.
Authenticity.
Yeah.
I for sure, I want them to see an authentic story. I want them to see the true relationship between these two characters. And that seems to be the most common thing when people come up to us. They say, this felt really real. And a lot of the reviews that we've seen so far, that's the number one thing that they take away from it, which I'm really personally happy about. That they go, oh, this is the most authentic, one of the most authentic shorts in the Tribeca lineup of how a relationship like this, in this situation, this is how it actually happens. This is like the raw, unfiltered, this
Yeah.
is how this situation goes down.
It's just the dialogue is so real, so genuine. You really believe that what's happening is actually happening.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing.
Yeah, we worked hard on like fostering this set that felt like a little bubble of fun. Like, why not have fun?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I'll also mention that I also want an audience to take away the idea that this film was made by a great number of women. On our set, we had over 90% women. And,
Right.
I'm just so proud of that fact.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
So this movie essentially is a message to society, basically, that there should be more female-driven productions.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so.
Absolutely. There should be more female-driven productions. There should be more safe sets for women.
Because that is the result that you will get, is that authenticity.
Absolutely.
When you
Yeah.
are able to create that safety.
Having all
Totally.
all the women on set really created an atmosphere of empathy, on set, and I think that only helped them stay in character. It only really helped them every day that we were on set.
That's great.
It was awesome. It
Yeah.
was such a fun set.
I can imagine. This is great.
Yeah.
And
My takeaway would be that I think this is a story that is for everyone. And yes, there's a queer lens to it, but I am so tired of seeing queer movies about coming out and just seen through the lens of trauma.
Right.
And I want to just be accepted by everyone, and I want everyone, our allies, to see this and say, oh, this was also my story, because this is a human story.
Yeah, this happens all the time.
Yes.
And it shouldn't bang the movie should not bang the message over our heads with it. It shouldn't be that like blatant. It's just a lovely story about two people. And are they friends? Are they more? See the film and find out.
It's complicated. As they
Yes,
say.
yes.
Yeah.
See, that was the title of a movie from.
Oh yeah, Jack
like
Nicholson and right?
No,
Oh.
it was Alec Baldwin, Steve Martin,
Oh.
and Meryl Streep.
Oh yeah, sorry.
It's okay.
The photo, it's them in bed, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it's totally Alec Baldwin. I don't know why I said.
But that's it. I think this should be titled "It's Complicated" as well. But
So the shorts block that it's in it's complicated.
Oh,
in
okay.
Tribeca.
Well, there you
so
go.
there you go.
Duh.
You quoted it with
yeah,
You nailed it.
yeah. Alina, since you are the filmmaker, and we could also talk to you as well, Amy, about this. But are there any filmmakers that have influenced your craft?
Well, yes. When I start, as I always think about my inner child when I get asked this question, because yes, there are filmmakers that influence me today, and they are not the same as the ones that influenced me back then. But I think I just like to go back then.
Sure.
Because yes, this, a lot of inspiration for this, of course, Celine Song's Past Lives was an inspiration. The miniseries Normal People was also an inspiration for this film, in terms of reflecting this intimate connection to the actors. But if I look back, and I'm very honest with myself, I have to go with Moulin Rouge, which is just very campy, and
Okay.
it's totally Bollywood meets Hollywood, and it's
Oh.
decadent, and I was always very enamored by this filmmaking because it was just too much on screen.
Okay.
And as a child or as a young adult, I could see the dreams on the screen, and I thought that that's what I wanted to create.
Movie magic.
Movie magic,
Yes.
but really on the nose.
Okay.
And then I scale it back to European cinema, and I think of directors like Olivier Assayas, or like Agnes Varda. And this is another type of filmmaking that's a lot more intimate and discreet, and I
Okay.
really like that because
Okay.
I would like to have that in my filmmaking too.
Well, if they've inspired you to do this, then I definitely have to check that. I have to add
Yes.
some of them to my list.
Yes, yes. Christophe Honoré is one of them as well. And my last one would be I just have to always quote Kubrick, and Eyes Wide Shut is
Okay.
one that I always found so fascinating. And actually, in terms of the realism and the acting,
Yeah.
I think about the scene between Nicole Kidman and Tom Cruise when they were on the verge of divorce and they were having their massive argument. And that scene to me is so real. And it was. And I think that the great genius Kubrick was able to bring that out of them. And it's fascinating. Yeah.
Very interesting.
And stylized too. That's what
Yeah.
I love. It's like real, but also very stylized.
And he spanned like every genre. You know?
Yes, exactly.
So versatile. So
And I think that's a really good point because